Hi, this is Christine. You know, I have this really bad habit of posting pictures of my foods, the food that I cook in my kitchen on Facebook. And a lot of times I get inbox messages or I get comments, how do you do that? How do you fix that? Well, today I want to start my first video from my kitchen showing something that is very simple, that is very enjoyable, and that is really good for anybody who loves a little spicy punch in their life every day. They have to eat and have pepper all the time. What I do have is this, it's a really great chocolate scotch bonnet pepper that grows in our garden. And the tree is growing, it's producing peppers out of control right now. So I've decided that I'm going to make in Jamaica what we call a pickle. And I'm going to use the scotch bonnet peppers. Already I have sliced up just regular onions. In my food processor over here, I have carrots, I have a little ginger, and I have chocha. Chocha is this green fruit, otherwise called Christophine in some places, or coyote. And basically, I've cut this one in half so you can see. It's a fruit, it has a heart in the middle. Now when I'm preparing it for this, I cut it in quarters, and then I just take my knife like this and I remove the middle and I peel all around. I take this green skin off. Now a lot of time people will just cook it with the skin on and they'll eat it with the skin on. That's great for fiber. It tastes like an Irish potato, but it's more translucent in the way it looks. Some people say maybe even a bit slimy. So I'm just going to throw this in the food processor. And I'm doing all my slicing on the food processor because it's faster. Sometimes when people want to be a bit more decorative, they'll take these and they'll cut them into fun shapes like stars or triangles or hearts, whatever fancies people, but it takes a whole lot of time. So if you're not doing the volume like I'm doing a couple of jars here, then you can do that. You can take it and you can, put it down and cut it in different shapes. But if you're doing the volume, the food processor is really the fastest thing to get this done quickly. Because you're going to do everything, your onions, your carrots, your peppers, your chocha, everything you're going to do in the food processor, and it's really quick. Okay, welcome back. So I'm about to start assembling my wonderful pickle, Jamaican pickle. And basically what I've done here, I just took the peppers out of the food processor. This was the part of the food processor I was using all along to slice. Just a slicer blade. And I did the peppers last because they really send off this very, very, very strong scent, and it's almost like a toxic, vapor that can burn your skin if you're not very careful. So, as I was showing you before, I have my chocho, carrots, onions, and ginger mixed into this. And I just use a little bit of ginger because I just want one nice piece of ginger to flavor the vinegar and to flavor the spices in there. So, I have a jar here, and this is like an old spaghetti sauce jar. You wash them and you boil them or sanitize them, or if you have a dishwasher, the heat from the dishwasher is good enough because the vinegar does a lot of the preservation also. So I'm going to start assemble, and here I'm putting my onions in, and I just throw my hands into it. Jamaican people say you use fork for eat and all sorts of stuff, you stush on. So I don't want to be stushy. I'm just using my hands, and I'm going to throw in my carrots and my onions and my chocho, and the piece of ginger just got in there. Now I'm not using my hands here for the peppers because that is hot. But I'm using a tongue, and I'm just going to stick it in there with the tongue. See how easy? Now I'm going to really stuff it in because I want, the vinegar to get into everything. And sometimes people become very decorative with this, and they're very careful how they place the ingredients around. So as I was telling you before, people will cut the carrots and the chocha, they'll cut them in nice, pretty shapes, you know, being more decorative, especially when they're selling them, and they'll cut them that way. But I'm just throwing things in here because guess what? As soon as you open it up and start eating, everything's gonna shift around anyway. So here I go again. Stick that down, go down, and I'm gonna add some more peppers. You know, these are very hot peppers. These chocolate Scotch bonnets. You know, about a year ago, I did a blog article on a chocolate Scotch bonnet, and I said I really want to try one. And then, you know, my husband, he got some plants and he planted it, and now we have all these chocolate Scotch bonnets growing. And I found out they're really hot, but they're not as flavorful as the Scotch bonnet peppers, the yellow ones and the red ones. So I didn't really take to them for cooking or for eating. So I decided this is a great way to use them without letting them go to waste. And I wouldn't even use them in my jerk sauce because I like the flavor of the Scotch bonnets in my jerk sauce. So here we go, pack them in. And what I'm going to do is, you know, my jars are sterilized and everything, is I'm just going to add my vinegar right here. Ooh. And as the vinegar goes down, you get a little more space. Maybe you want to put a little more pepper at the top. And just stop it up. And there you have it. What in Jamaica we call pickle. Your peppers, hot peppers, chilies, and you add to that your chocho, your carrots, your onions, and I use ginger. Now another thing you could use is pimento. Pimento or allspice has a wonderful flavor, but I noticed, because I keep these for a very long time, sometimes years, that the allspice eventually will color the vinegar and everything will look dark. So I don't use allspice anymore. I just use the ginger for the flavor. Now this can stay in the cupboard for months, maybe up to a year. They never last that long around here. But as long as you open it, once you open it, please refrigerate it, and it stays a very long time in the refrigerator. And you're eating, and you, just like you would use a hot pepper sauce, you take these out and you put them on your food. Very, very flavorful. I eat them on everything. So this is it, Jamaican pickle. Enjoy, have fun, and please try not to get burnt. Thank you.